The Artist, perhaps one of the best killers you could play in Dead by Daylight in terms of strength and versatility. Ignoring the obvious choices, of course. Now there is a lot to cover in this guide video, so I won't waste too much time with an introduction. We all know why you're here, so let us all get better at playing the Artist. My name is Zuza, and I've spent the last 9 months mastering this killer. So much so, I even made it to being the #1 ranked Artist player for bird downs in Europe. I adore playing this killer, and today I wanted to share all the knowledge I have accumulated from playing them with you today. These videos are going to be split up into 2 parts, a beginner's guide and an intermediate guide. We will not be covering builds for the Artist, as sometimes it is fun to find builds that work for you, and discussing optimal builds can be a lengthy topic on its own. So I think I'll save that for another video. What I will say regarding perks, however, is to run perhaps an aura build or a fun build. Do not run everything that is meta or extremely oppressive. You will not get better at a character by having your meta or busted perks carry you through all of your games. So better to master your fundamentals and learn how to be oppressive at a base level and run perks that later complement your choice of playstyle. This video aims to give you all the tips and tricks you need to advance your Artist gameplay to the next level, and become the most oppressive and terrifying bird commander there is. Now I'm sure a lot of you might want to skip the beginner section as you already understand what and who the Artist is and how her power works, at least at a basic level. But I do recommend you stick around, as you may find out something new that you may not have known, and it could even help you improve your gameplay, though I will go over all the basics and fundamentals for those that need them. I can't make a perfect guide without being thorough. The Artist at base is a standard killer, normal 32 meter terror radius, and she moves at 4.6 meters per second, which equates to 115%. Her power is called Birds of Torment. Now behavior are not the best at describing a killer's power on paper, so please ignore this description here. Basically, the Artist has at base 3 dire crows that she can summon by holding down the power button. This takes about a second to charge and will slightly slow down your movement speed. By pressing the attack button, she can summon one of these crows. It will remain idle facing the direction you were looking when you placed it. You can use this white guideline to better angle the direction you wish them to face. The crow that you summoned will remain idle for around 10 seconds. Once this timer expires, that crow and any other crows you have summoned will disintegrate, putting your power on cooldown. You can extend this idle timer by charging up and placing down another crow, or you can place multiple crows in quick succession by holding the power button down. While a crow is idle, you can press the ability button to propel the crows in the direction they were facing. These crows can travel through walls and will continue to fly until they collide with a survivor, or until they reach the map boundary. Be wary, however, the more crows you have placed and end up propelling, the longer the cooldown is. Now this is the part of Artist power that people often find confusing. When you place a crow down in open space, you will see a flight path appear. Survivors do not see this. This arrow in front of the crow is important, as you can see it through walls as well. Any survivor within that arrow's range will lose a health state when the crow is propelled with the ability button. If a survivor was in the crow's flight path, but beyond the range of that arrow, or if the crow was fired through any walls, the survivor will be swarmed instead. Any survivor that runs into a dire crow while it is idle will also be swarmed. When a survivor is swarmed, they are vulnerable to 2 very powerful things. Firstly, the Artist can track their movements perfectly through walls, and secondly, a swarmed survivor can be injured from any distance by another dire crow. Survivors can repel crows by performing the repel action. After 1.5 seconds of repelling the swarm, the aura will disappear, making it difficult for the Artist to track them. However, if the repel action is interrupted for any reason or stopped, be it so they can drop a pallet or vault a window, this aura will reappear and they have to restart the repel action from the beginning. Repel progress is not saved, so use this to your advantage in chase. Additionally, a survivor who has just been swarmed will have a short time in which they are immune to being hit by another crow. This timer is very short, but prevents the Artist from removing health states on demand. There is a technique in which you can swarm a survivor and injure a survivor on the same use of her power, however we will cover that technique in the next video. When a crow is fired, but narrowly misses its target, you will be notified of their location through Killer Instinct for a few seconds. Don't be disheartened for narrow misses, as this Killer Instinct proc can still be useful information, as multiple survivors can be detected from one close crow shot. Quick note! Both idle crows and swarms can be removed with flashbangs and flashlights. Additionally, a survivor can remove a swarm on them by hopping into a locker. Often you will know that they have done this, as the swarm will fade faster than it normally would. Additionally, artists cannot, for some reason, place her crows next to hooked survivors. The same is true for a survivor dying on the hook. I don't know the radius off the top of my head, but bear this in mind when trying to set up a shot or deny loops, as it can mess up your positioning or setups. So, now that you understand how her power works, let's get to the basics of how to use it effectively. The first thing you will want to learn how to do is how to use her power effectively at loops. There are many different ways that you can use her power at a loop, but most come with experience and practice. For now, I want to show you some of the safe and most effective ways to place your birds to have the best chance of getting yourself an easy hit. The most optimal way to place an idle crow is to place it facing a direction you wish to corral a survivor into. If you point it against the wall of a window or a pallet, should they drop or vault, you are guaranteed to hit them with that bird so long as you aren't stunned or locked in animation. Do pay attention to what the survivor is doing, however. If they know what they are doing, once they see you place a bird, they will run to another loop. Do not overcommit to looping a survivor. If a survivor does decide to loop you, capitalize. Should you miss your shot, if you only fired one crow, it won't take long for your power to recover, so keep the survivor trapped there and practice nailing that anti-loop. If you have denied 3 loops already, place down your 3 birds and the survivor is still running to the next loop, don't be disheartened. Let your power disintegrate. Your power will recover much faster by letting them remain idle than it will if you fire the crows. Add-ons like the automatic drawing make this power recovery near instantaneous, which is why it's one of my favorites to run, but we'll cover add-ons later in the video. Quick tip! If you have misplaced your first crow, feel free to fire it as quickly as you can. Your power will recover much faster after quickly firing one crow than it will to wait for one crow to disintegrate and recover. Many different tiles have many different ways in which you can deny survivors vaults and pallets. Here are just a few quick examples. Oh no, the survivor you're chasing is just running to loop after loop. How do I catch them? Well, my dear, I think it's time I taught you how to pull off a bird shot. The best thing about Artist, in my opinion, is that she has counters to her counters. Aside from flashlights. Now, this will unfortunately take a lot of practice to get right. A lot of this comes with experience and cannot simply be taught. Your power is very well designed in terms of its timings. What you want to do in this situation is fire one bird to swarm them. If you fire any more, they will repel the swarm before you have time to hit them with your next crow. Always try and hit them with one crow when going for bird shots. Is the survivor looking at you? If so, they are likely trying to see what direction you are placing a bird to try and dodge it. In this instance, if you have seen that they are pretty competent and like to dodge crows, try to hit them once their line of sight is blocked, or predict where they might dodge. This is where the practice comes into the picture, as predicting a survivor's movements will mostly come with luck and experience. If the survivor is running predictably, then you can just fire a shot directly at them. Now that you have the survivor swarmed, you have enough time to place 2 or 3 birds, fire them quickly, and potentially hit them. If you really want to start getting better at the Artist, then the less crows you use to hit a target, the better. You always want to angle a bird in the direction you think the survivor will be. You need to treat her power like a hunter's hatchet that can go through walls. Try not to place more than 2 birds down unless you have to. Remember that the more birds you place and fire, the longer your cooldown is. If you miss your target, you're without a power for longer than you'd like to be. Not only that, but there is a slight speed debuff when you fire your crows, which means you lose a bit of distance too. If you're starting out and you just want to get a feel for a power, then I guess shotgunning birds at survivors isn't a bad thing so long as you're hitting them. Just try to aim to use less and less birds for your shots as you get better, unless the scenario demands otherwise. Now that we have covered the basics on how to play Artist in a match, let's go over some of the add-ons I think you should use as a beginner. You are welcome to trial and experiment with whatever you choose. Just be aware that add-ons such as the Iridescent Feather and Severed Hands require a different playstyle to be used effectively sometimes. So best to avoid these when starting out. The Charcoal Stick and the 2 add-ons that keep your crows idle for longer are bad add-ons. Do not run these add-ons. You never want your crows staying idle longer than they already do. The longer they are idle, the longer you are without a power. Not only that, when they do disintegrate, you don't get your power back any faster. You still suffer the normal cooldown. If you haven't hit a survivor with the idle crow yet, then you never will. Let the birds disintegrate. The best add-ons I can recommend for beginners that want to improve their artist gameplay are the Thick Tar and the Velvet Fabric. These add-ons will go a long way to assisting you in hitting your shots and predicting where a survivor will end up. You can even run these add-ons as an expert player. Just be wary not to be dependent on them. The Thick Tar extends the time it takes for a survivor to repel a swarm by 0.5 seconds. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, that's the window of a dead hard, and we all know how effective that can be. Sometimes that 0.5 seconds is the difference between a down or not. The Velvet Fabric extends the time in which you can see the aura of a swarm on a survivor who is repelling by 1.5 seconds. These add-ons together can help you predict and line up your shots, while also giving you a little extra window to help you get the hits you need. Just be wary that as you get better, these add-ons do mess with your muscle memory a little bit, which you might notice if you ever decided to run something else instead. The Festering Carrion and Automatic Drawing are her two recovery add-ons. You can't go wrong with these either. Personally, if you ever wanted to choose between one or the other, I would highly recommend the Automatic Drawing. This add-on will give you your power back instantaneously after your crows disintegrate, which keeps you in the action a lot more. These seconds will be a lot more crucial compared to the small 0.5 second recovery that Carrion can give you, which won't matter if you're hitting your shots anyway. Any, if not all of her add-ons are solid and good choices you really can't go wrong with, but these few are my recommendations for people just starting out. And that concludes my artist tips for beginners. Thank you all so much for watching. This video took a lot of time and work to make, so please consider subscribing and leave a like if you wish to learn more. The intermediate video will be coming soon. Until then, ciao ciao and happy hunting.